So hello everybody. Uh, First of all, thank you for the constant support, and I would like to explain some things about today. As you know, by plan, I told you that because of the close yesterday, the context was in favor for the bulls, and as you know, the price went straight into my target that I read on my plan, around 12,020. Okay, and a guy asked me, I went short in another supply that you mentioned, around 12,005 to 9. Okay, and the got stopped at 20. Obviously, in my opinion, if you have two supply area, one of them is also the target. It's kind of bad idea to get stopped on the above supply. Okay, and also another thing that I would like to explain is that in this particular scenario on Nasdaq, especially if you don't enter on the very extreme of the range that I mentioned in the plan, which was the first target and the first demand, at least. Okay, so you can have an idea. And I also told on the plan that the action today would have been tricky. I know that usually on Friday, especially, big moves tends to happen end of the day. So I monitor what is going to happen now end of the day, but the rest of the session, both in overnight, then in at the opening bell and the regular trading hour, if I expect a choppy range, I try to trade into the range that I see it's developing by the price action, which was also the range of yesterday, as you can see. Anyway, I told you that in this particular scenario, in which we have a very choppy range and the volatility is kind of high because you have moves for about 100 to 100 again points on the Nasdaq, using 15 points stop is kind of risky because you risk to being shake out for a few points if you don't enter on the very extreme range of the action. I suggest personally, it's what I do, to use smaller sizes and eventually larger stop loss. Okay, this is my personal idea and how I manage my trading and money management inside this kind of scenario. Anyway, as you can see, the price today played in a very easy way, in my opinion, between the levels I mentioned in the plan. So from 12,020, we have this big dump down into demand with a little bounce here around the pivotal area that I also mentioned yesterday, around 960-65. Okay, all this area, obviously, because of the volatility and the kind of index that Nasdaq is, you don't have to be you don't have to expect very surgical levels. You have it's a better idea to think about areas. Okay, you have to be a little generous on this, and this is why I suggest to use larger stops and eventually smaller sizes. Anyway, I mentioned this area which was target and supply, and this area which was demand. Okay, around 930, 922. And as you can see, the price dumped inside this area. As I explained in a previous video, usually the areas play in a way in which you have a first bounce, first reaction out of this area, but you also usually have a back test. So you have the first bounce, and here I tweeted that I would have take profit on this move, because we were approaching a minor supply, which you can discover watching the 5-minute chart here on this 15-minute candle dump. And because of the fact that the price tends to backtest areas and you are into supply here, a good idea is to bank and eventually reverse on the short side back into demand. Once you are once again into demand, a good idea is to switch long once again, because the second attempt usually produces the stronger move out of an area. And in fact, we have this great ramp for one more 100 points back again into the supply and target that I mentioned in my plan. From here we have this tricky action, this dump, then bounce once again, and this bounce happened into a supply area that I mentioned also on my plan, which I discovered, and that's been produced also on minor time frames on this candle, but all these range has traded it as well. And once again here we have this little supply that once again produced a good bounce, with also the VIX that was spiking, as I warned on my feed. So this is why this minor supply, as you can see, the price went straight down, the action was overstretched, found a demand, gained some propeller again from the higher range of all this action, and went down straight once again into demand area. Okay, this is the third attempt on the demand area, and usually it's the more risky one to take. It can work or not. Usually I prefer to take the first as a scalp and the second for the bigger move that usually happens. But who took this long once again in this perfect box of demand now is up for another 60 points on Nasdaq in this trading range. Anyway, what I want to show you is that if you missed some action but you're able to find out levels of supply and demand also on minor time frames, and you're fast enough to click, so you play like a scalper, which is one of my favorite kind of trading, you can find some good levels to scalp. So we start from here. This is the dump from the higher range that I mentioned before. This is the demand level, okay? The price bounce up, and here in this area, as you can see, a minor supply has been produced in the dump. And I told you, we need to chew up this supply area for continuation. Instead, if this doesn't happen and the price come back again into demand, it's the fourth attempt, and it's very risky, and the price can breach through and go short out of the range of today. Anyway, this didn't happen, and the supply produced this little resistance for about 10 points if you scalped it, but it traded down into this little, very little demand area produced on this little ramp, okay, from the bottom, and then ramped again. And here I told you that we have another little supply area, and you can easily see it on a 1-minute chart or also on a 5-minute chart, but I now watch this 1-minute chart, and you here have this little supply area from 974 to 79, sorry. So you have first attempt into supply, rejection into the previous area, which now is become demand, once again up for the back test, always into this supply that I mentioned, and usually the back test goes a little deeper into the area, and the price traded down once again into demand. This is always for the back test low of the supply and demand. So you have the first occasion to short here for about 15 points, go in for a few points of maximum adverse excursion, once again into the supply, then short it once again, back into the demand, okay? So you have about 15, 15, 15. So this can be from 40 to 50 points on Nasdaq, just scalping very fast into this little area. Obviously, you have to be confident in this kind of operativity and do a lot of practice and gain experience on this kind of action, because you have to be really fast, both in find out the little area of imbalances, but also in clicking, okay? But the risk reward is great, because as you can see, the price always reacts into this area, and the risk reward is very, very great. Also here, if you entered once again at 75, you only have 3 points on maximum adverse exertion. And now the action we are watching, the price, as you can see, traded to 998, and always on a 1 minute chart. If you go here, you can see this little imbalance in price, which is exactly at 998. This produced the first bounce down into this little demand of 1 minute. So this kind of little action, very fast action, can give you a lot of points if you stay focused and you're getting fast in clicking and in discovering this area. For example, this little dump from the 98 supply area produced a dump down to 83, which means potential for 15 points on Nasdaq just with one click here, exactly on this little demand. Usually this is a very advanced kind of scalping, because on a 1 minute chart, especially on index like the Nasdaq, which is kind of wild, you have to be very, very focused and ready to find out. But as you can see, you have a lot of time to discover eventually imbalances in the price. So when I first watch, for example, this dump developing, and I'm trading right here, my plan can be to search on this dump eventual imbalances to trade if the price reacts from here. So I would have found this one for this choppy scalping action. I would have found this one, okay? As you can see, the price rejected from 85 to 60 again, so this is 25 points. Just if you are able to find this little imbalance, this is gift, okay? And once again, if you're able and you discovered this one, okay, you have this little dump to take. This is just what I do, and obviously you have to be very quick, both in taking profits, both in taking losses, but statistically, these little imbalances, these little areas produced a great amount of occasions to gain from 10 to 15 to 20 points straight with a great risk reward. And if you're good enough, also with a very, very small maximum adverse excursion. So I hope that this very fast video helped someone, and I don't suggest to newbies to do this kind of operativity, but you can try to do some practice with smaller sizes. I don't suggest to play demo because you don't have the psychological and emotional commitment, and you need to have it, in my opinion. If you have a little saving and you are kind of disciplined, you can try to do this with very, very small sizes. As you can see, for example, now on this minute chart, the price came up from this little demand up into this little imbalance in price and dumped down once again. This is a very, very tight range, so I don't suggest to scalp this one. But if you caught the short here, it's developing in a nice way for about 15, almost 20 points. So this is what I do when I'm free and when I'm willing to play this kind of operativity, because you also need the right mood to go into this kind of very fast playing. But it's a very profitable kind of trading if you gain the ability to play it. So once again, I thank you for the support, and I hope that I help someone with this video. Have a great weekend, and let's do some mess next week. Bye.